What's up, everybody? I'm back, and I'm continuing to go over what was being printed in the press at the time of Steven Avery and Brendan Dassey's arrest, their trial, and everything that happened post-trial as well. Now, in these particular videos, we are way past the trial being over. Steven Avery and Brendan Dassey were convicted of murdering Teresa Halbachs. Now, the first article from today is from 2013, November 24th, 2013, and it is from the Janesville Gazette. It states, Teresa Halbachs' family drops lawsuit against Steven Avery. Manitowoc. The family of a woman killed in one of Wisconsin's most notorious homicides wants to drop its wrongful death lawsuit. Steven Avery and his nephew Brendan Dassey were convicted of killing the 25-year-old photographer. Halbachs' family filed the lawsuit in 2006. Family members released a statement on Friday saying they still believe Avery and Dassey are responsible for Teresa Halbachs' death, but they believe it's time to move on. You would think that they would want absolutely everything to happen to Brendan Dassey and Steven Avery if they indeed thought they were guilty. I don't know why, other than this, I don't know why they dropped the lawsuit. But yeah, it says it's time to move on. I get that. You want to put it in the past, you want to try and move on with your life. But if it was me, I would want the people that I believed that committed the crime to killing my family member to suffer every way imaginable. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. I definitely would have not dropped the lawsuit. This next article is from November 26, 2014, and it is from the Madison, Wisconsin State Journal. Just a small article here. Man seeks federal appeal in murder case. The man convicted of helping his uncle kill Teresa Halbachs in Manitowoc County is taking his legal challenge to the federal court. Lawyers for Brendan Dassey recently filed a petition in federal court asking a judge to decide whether his arrest and conviction were legal. Brendan Dassey was 16 when Teresa Halbachs was killed in 2005 after she went to the Avery family auto salvage yard to photograph some vehicles. Brendan Dassey's uncle, Steven Avery, was tried and convicted separately. The Wisconsin Supreme Court last year declined to take Brendan Dassey's case. Post-Crescent Media reported the federal case, like appeals in state court, argued Dassey's constitutional rights were violated because of ineffective counsel and involuntary confession. The next article here is from June 17th, 2015, and it is from the Madison, Wisconsin State Journal. Wrongful death lawsuit dismissed. A judge in Sheboygan County has dismissed a wrongful death lawsuit involving one of Wisconsin's most notorious homicides 9 years after it was filed. The civil suit brought by the family of Teresa Halbachs was filed against Steven Avery and his nephew Brendan Dassey in 2006, seeking unspecified monetary damages. The two were convicted of killing the 25-year-old photographer in 2005. Halbachs' family agreed to put the lawsuit on hold. Halbachs' family agreed to put the lawsuit on hold while Avery continued to appeal his conviction. The family's attorney, Patrick Coffey, asked the judge earlier this month to dismiss the lawsuit regardless of Avery's appeal status in the criminal case. Avery is serving life in prison with no chance of parole. Brendan Dassey's first chance of parole is in 2048. December 23rd, 2015, from the Madison Capital Times. Netflix is making a murder. This might have been the day that it debuted on Netflix. I'm not 100% sure, but it was right around then. Netflix is making a murderer is a riveting look into Wisconsin murder case. Honey, do you want to help the kids frost the Christmas cookies before we go caroling? Not right now, sweetie. I'm still on episode 5 of the miniseries on one of the most notorious murder cases in Wisconsin history. The week before Christmas may seem like a strange time for Netflix to release Making a Murderer, a 10-episode documentary miniseries about the Steven Avery case, but based on my Twitter feed, a lot of people were ready to take a deep dive into a true crime investigation before the holidays. To be fair, my social media channels are full of Wisconsin journalists, and the Avery case hits close to home. Avery, Chilton man, became the poster child for wrongful convictions in Wisconsin after spending 18 years in prison on an attempted murder conviction. The Wisconsin Innocent Project used DNA evidence to help prove that Avery could not have committed the crime, and he was released in 2003. The first episode of Making a Murderer retells this story, beginning and ending with footage of Avery's release from prison. The series makes the case that he was railroaded into a conviction by Manitowoc County Sheriff's Deputy Department and prosecutors, and a decade into his sentence, they had at least a strong suspicion that he was the wrong man and did nothing. Viewers unfamiliar with the Avery case might watch this first episode and wonder, how could this be 9 more episodes still to go? But Wisconsin viewers know what's coming next in 2005. Just as Avery's $36 million civil suit against law enforcement was about to go to trial, he was arrested and charged with the kidnapping and murder of Teresa Halbachs, a young photographer who had been at the Avery salvage yard on the day of her disappearance. And that's the case that the riveting and upsetting Making a Murderer dives into, with filmmakers following every twist and turn. I will admit, having followed the horrific details of the case from afar, I always suspected that Avery was guilty, that 18 years of prison and somehow turned an innocent man into someone capable of murder. But watching Making a Murderer raises a lot of questions about the investigation and whether the evidence was planted, including Teresa Halbachs' car keys, which were found in Steven Avery's bedroom after several previous searches somehow missed them, and whether a confession by Steven Avery's alleged accomplice, his emotionally troubled 16-year-old nephew, may have been coerced. Did Avery commit murder, or, as his lawyer contended, did law enforcement try to frame him for a second crime he did not commit to discredit his civil lawsuit against them? Or is the truth somewhere in between, that Avery did commit the crime but law enforcement wanted to make sure he was convicted? Making a Murderer is decidedly unflashy, with the filmmakers patiently sifting through courtroom testimony, interrogation room footage, and recordings of jailhouse phone calls between Avery and his family. Anyone who follows the news in Wisconsin knows what Avery's fate will be, but it is nonetheless fascinating to walk through the investigation step by step. The filmmakers clearly think a miscarriage of justice has been committed here, but they are resolutely even-handed in weighing all possible explanations. Making a Murderer follows HBO's The Jinx and Public Radio's Serial, which are long-form documentaries about real crime. I must confess I'm a little uneasy about other people's tragedies being presented as binge-worthy entertainment, and whether such programs cross the line from informative to exploitive. Murderer, though, stays on the right side of that line. Part of that is because it is so even-handed and respectful to all parties, refusing to sensationalize. But the other part is that it tells a story that is much larger than a whodunit narrative, a story of how easy it is for working class people to get knocked around by our legal system, and how small town prejudice can influence how local law enforcement operate, and how easy it is for the rest of us to accept the official narrative put before us, how much lip service we pay to the notion of innocent until proven guilty. Making a Murderer hits close to home for Wisconsin viewers like me, whether we're part of the media or not, who had instantly made up their mind about Steven Avery before knowing the evidence. Whew, that was a long article, but very, very good. The next one, and the last one we're going to go over today, is from December 27th, 2015. Ex-prosecutor says Avery film slanted. Ken Kratz says Netflix ignores key evidence. The prosecutor who put Steven Avery in prison for killing a young photographer says Netflix documentary chronicling the case is slanted toward the defense. Steven Avery made headlines in 2003 when he was released from prison after spending nearly 2 decades behind bars for a crime he didn't commit. 2 years later, Avery was charged with killing Teresa Halbachs, a freelance photographer who visited the Avery family salvage yard to take photos of a car on Halloween and was never seen alive again. A jury convicted Avery of first-degree intentional homicide, and he was sentenced to life in prison. WLUK TV reported that the filmmakers of Making a Murderer condensed hundreds of hours of footage into 10 one-hour episodes of Making a Murderer. Of course they did. That's how you make a documentary. The documentary features Steven Avery's defense attorneys suggesting police planted evidence to frame Steven Avery. Ken Kratz, the special prosecutor in the case, said the filmmakers never gave him a chance to answer the defense attorney's allegations. He said the documentary ignores up to 90% of the physical evidence. So that's what we're going to go over. And let me know what you think of Ken Kratz stating that making a murderer favored the defense. Let me know. Leave some comments below. I hope you're having a good day, and I will see you again soon.